The holidays are about spending time with your loved ones and creating magical memories that will last a lifetime. So whether it's family and friends you haven't seen in a while, or those who you see all the time, share holiday magic this season with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Copyright 2024, The Coca-Cola Company.
70,000 people are here, and Bob Dylan is the reason for it.
Inspired by the true story.
For anyone who's gonna hold your attention on a stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play loud!
To change everything.
Make some noise, BD.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro, a complete unknown. Now playing only in theaters. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Back at the Kansas City Soccer Dome. Wait, how do you say that, Eric?
The world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome.
This is the Blue Turf. This is Thad Bell from KC Soccer Journal. Eric Bergerud on the other side of this little round table, who only wobbles a little bit today. We're doing good. Did you have a good Christmas, sir?
Yeah, I did. Got gifted from my son a Comets 2 orange soccer ball. That's my second. So my next stop after recording this is to my office to find a good location for it.
Does it go like on a shelf? Do you have like a wall mount for it?
No, it'll be on a shelf. I have another rocket red, orange color with that interesting Comets logo from the 2000s. Interesting. Yeah.
That's one word for it.
Not the classic one. How was your Christmas, Dan?
Good. Well, daughter goes to college in town. She stayed with us, so I would say she's home for Christmas. But so just got in a couple of days of food and singing in church for her and just lots of family time, and it was good.
Good deal.
No special soccer gifts this year.
Not sure what to say about that. But, hey, you have Comets soccer back this weekend, so it's sort of like a post-Christmas gift.
Yeah, we do. Saturday, the Comets face a team that they have got to know very well over the last few years. And even this year, the Ambush are in town on Saturday, and then they'll face again in St. Louis, St. Charles, Tuesday, New Year's Eve. Yeah,
and so they instituted a new tradition, the I-70 Cup, presented by WANA. I should say that Comets already lead the season series 2-0. If they win on Saturday, they would clinch it, but my understanding is the trophy won't be presented until the final game, which Kansas City will host in 2025. And so good opportunity to get some bragging rights here, but really more important than the bragging rights is looking at teams that are starting to play games. Every win is critical now if you want to get a really good playoff position. It's something we saw this week from the Kansas City Chiefs. There is some value to that one seed. Granted, it's a little bit apples and oranges with the MASL, right, but you want to be near the top because there are benefits in the playoff system by being near the top.
Especially number one.
One and two for sure, just the way and we can revisit that at maybe our final segment, what that would mean. But Utica City has looked really good on the road. They haven't played at home yet, and they're going to have 2 games coming up this Sunday against Harrisburg and then New Year's Eve against Baltimore, and those are 2 games they probably should win. And so now the Comets need to look over their shoulder every single time, and that's where we are.
Well, and we've kind of known for a while that there'd be several teams that are battling for that top couple spots. We'll come back to that, though. Let's come back to the whole league look here in a little bit. Comets have faced the Ambush. The Ambush knows the Comets now. They've all got some games under their belt. What do you expect from this weekend? The Comets are going to be missing Marcel Berry, which we were going to talk about later, but I just screwed that up. But he's out for the season. But they've been playing well. There's a lot of guys who look good.
Let's start with the Ambush. So Ambush got their first win of the season at home against Dallas. I think it's safe to say that a Dallas mistake, a goalkeeper mistake, ultimately led to their victory, but you take the wins wherever you can get that. So I think that was critical for them to get 3 points. They brought in some new faces to enhance the roster, but they're still trying to find an identity, and we'll see. There's a lot of question marks. Who's going to be starting in goal on Saturday? Paulo's had a lot of experience here. Pollo is probably the hotter hand, and so we'll see what their coaching team does. For Kansas City, as you said, a lot of faces. I actually had some time today. Usually I'm rushed here at the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome to watch practice. So I've actually had an opportunity to watch practice today and trying to figure out what the pieces in the midfield will look like. Lucas Souza has been out because of injury. I would anticipate that he's going to get a look on Saturday. We're seeing more and more of Danny, and in fact, he's looked really impressive in practice today already. You can just see his quality out there. He's still trying to figure out the positioning. He's been coached not only by Coach Stokic, but also Zach Reggett. They've been on the same line in practice, just figuring out his place and his movement on the field, but the quality is definitely there.
Yeah, once he gets the indoor game, I mean, again, if he gets the indoor game, not everybody does, but somebody just ran into a wall hard enough that it shook the whole platform they were on.
That's some of the advantage of recording here live during practice.
Nobody's down and dead, so apparently they're okay. Again, if Danny does get the indoor game, we've seen all that quality. Getting that connection to somebody like Zach, building those relationships where he can kind of know where guys are at, where they're supposed to be, and play off of that would be really beneficial for the Comets.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there are the pieces there. What it looks like may look a little different because what we've seen from Marcel Berry is pace on the counterattack, pace as they move players up front. Just different options in the midfield bring you a little bit of a different spice. And as we talked about at last week's podcast, seeing Reggett and Marquez out there at the same time, I don't know that opposing teams can predict which 16 Coach Stokic starts and how he chooses to deploy them.
Or those options within the game, how he might change those up.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Lucas, you mentioned that he was coming back. I believe Coach had said last week that he could have been available to play. It's just that they didn't want to put him back in because he'd been out for a while.
Yeah, and so we'll see what they decide to do. I saw Henry Ramirez running before, so he's trying to get back into the 16 after being out, and Mikey Lennis, who's been out, has been training out there too, and so it's going to be interesting to see. This is a good problem to have, where you don't know who's going to get called in and who are the healthy scratches, and I guess we'll see on Saturday.
You're talking about the Ambush and the goalie situation. How have you seen the rest of the team develop for the Ambush? I mean, it's 4 games, but are they gelling? Is Taiyu being the Taiyu we expect him to be?
He's scoring goals. I think this isn't really 4. 4 goals, 4 assists, I believe. Not that this is a state secret, but our spotlight player on Saturday is going to be William Eske for me.
Yeah.
When he's going, that team's going. He's the captain, and the energy and everything else. I think it's tough when you change your roster quite a bit as they have, just to figure out everything. And we even see this here in practice. People knowing their position, knowing the tendencies when players are going to make runs, when players are going to lay off the ball, and that just takes time. If you haven't played together for 1, 2, 3, 4 years,
Yep.
you have to figure out, where do I need to be, where's the ball going to need to be, and I think St. Louis is still figuring it out.
They are, and I know that we will sometimes be harder on the Comets than other teams. We'll give them slack where we won't give the Comets as much slack. Well, they need to know. They need to win. If we were looking at the other team, they have that same pressure on them.
Well, yeah, no, and I think with the ambush, there's going to be pressure on them to win that New Year's Eve game. That's a tradition in St. Charles. I think that they're going to come in. They played well against Kansas City the last several, going back to last year, the last several attempts. They're going to try to steal points in Kansas City, but the pressure's on the Comets. So the ambush comes in Saturday knowing nobody expects us to win, so we can just go play our game, and they play well at Cable Dome Arena. I think for Kansas City, they're going to want 6 points. They're going to expect 6 points, and that's a difference from maybe what we've seen a couple seasons ago, where you expect to win at home. Maybe you win on the road, but if you want to be considered to be among the elite in the MASL, you expect to win every game.
You do. Just looking out here, watching practice a little bit, one of the we talked about the different lines and who might be on those different lines and pairings and stuff like that. But what about goal? Who do you start?
We seem to talk about this at every occasion.
It's your favorite subject.
It's my favorite subject. I would not be surprised to see Philip Ejimadu in goal on Saturday. I think that with games at home and in St. Louis, it wouldn't surprise me if we see one of each. One at home, one away. And then the question's going to be, with Milwaukee coming into town, who's the hot hand? So I think that's probably the game when we start getting a sense of where the rest of the season might go. But I would not be shocked to see two different goalies in these home and home games.
Yeah, I believe if I was coach, that's probably the way I would do it. I'm just not sure which one I would start in which location. A little more pressure being on the road, maybe, or maybe there's more pressure at home because you're expected to win.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, and Coach Stokic, he has his idea of what he expects, so you and I can sit here and predict everything. The fans can sit around and predict everything, but this is a good problem to have where you have to choose between goalkeepers, because there are a few teams in the league where there's a legitimate toss-up or close to toss-up. Right. I mean, Harrisburg has seriously upgraded their goalkeeping, and they have two former Florida Tropics goalkeepers in there now with Hugo Silva and Jorge Navarrete. Silva's going to get the playing time, but St. Louis is upgraded, and you start seeing, hey, maybe you never know who you're going to be playing against in some of these games.
And a lot of teams will go into that, facing that problem with, we're just going to play our game no matter who's there, right? But it does change the game a little bit. Some guys are a little better at, the distribution. Some guys are a little better at the shot stopping or the positioning or whatever. It does maybe change how that plays out a little bit.
No, I think it does. I think it does too, and tendencies. And if you're watching game film and you're basing your game plan based on what you've watched, and all of a sudden the opposing coach makes an unexpected start in goal, then you have to adjust when you get out there on the field.
Yeah, and even right now in practice, I would not be able to tell you who's going to start because they're literally just rotating through these drills right now. Well,
and I think that, Coach Stokic has said that there's no difference in their approach regardless of who's in goal for them, and I think he's serious about that.
No, I truly believe he is. So with the ambush, Tayu, SK, who else do you think is maybe, rounding into form for them? Anybody?
Well, we haven't seen Uzi Tayu in every game. We'll see if Uzi's there this week. Rafael Araujo, who's on the U.S. national futsal team, continues to impress me in the back. He's great with the ball at his feet, and you would expect that from a futsal player. I mean, I think that there are different players who bring different things. William Eske's brother, John A. Eske, brings pace, which they absolutely need. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see. A lot of changes in that roster. Players coming off of an injury. JT, Daduka, who both have battled their own issues. And so this is, again, a team that's still trying to find itself. But there are definite players on there that in any given situation can create fits for the Comets.
So it'll be 4 of the 5 games after the next few days against the Ambush. Again, the 5th one in next year. I know I always have to. I don't say I always have to, but this scheduling is a little crazy that you get 4 against the Ambush that early in the season.
Yeah, it's just the way that it played out, and for Comets fans who might be looking at other team schedules and thinking, wow. I'll use this as an example that UCFC gets to play Harrisburg a lot, right? Or Baltimore. I mean, Harrisburg's definitely capable of winning, just like St. Louis is definitely capable of winning. And, I mean, ultimately, you can look at everybody's schedule and make all the thoughts or predictions that you want, but you ultimately have to win all those games. And the difference between the good teams and the great teams are the great teams routinely win those games.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. It's just, and I know it's not easy to put the schedule together. I saw some fans complaining about how terrible the league is because of these issues, and like, well, nobody in this league controls their own home dates except for San Diego, right? So
Chihuahua.
Yeah. True. I forgot about them. But it's hard to control your own dates, and then you have to work around all the other primary tenants and try to get that, and even trying to have something kind of balanced is impossible. So you're just working it in where you can. Some teams want to front load their season to play a lot of games early. Some want to do it late. It's trying to balance all of that out isn't easy. I still think you don't have to play 4 against the same team in the first 6 games,
I mean,
but
just the way it is. I think that for the New Year's Eve game in St. Louis, it's an easier travel day for the Comets than it is any other team in the league. They'll bus in, bus back, whereas other teams would most likely fly in, and for a 2:00 game on a Tuesday afternoon, probably easier for the Comets to take that one.
Yeah, I did hear one of the players complain about the time they have to get up to go for that game.
Oh, it's rough. I'd actually, because I've done that trip with the guys a couple times, not on New Year's Eve, but other games. It's a long day, so I think I've decided that I'm just going to watch the game on YouTube TV like many other Comets fans will be, and not have to get up so early and get back home so late.
I've just made a lot of trips to St. Louis over the last few months and don't want to go back in the near future if possible. Plus, that's a bad day to go. Amateur night for drinkers, too many people out in the evening getting stupid. I would just rather stay home now. I'm old.
There you go.
I'll watch the game.
There you go. There will be Comets fans there, which is great.
Yep.
The Comets appreciate the support on the road. And
well, I encourage people to go, just not me.
Yeah. No, I will be going to some road games later this season. It's just ironically this year it's not going to be St. Louis. It'll be in other venues.
Cool. We mentioned Marcel Berry earlier. He's out for the season. Be going through rehab. It's a big disappointment because he seemed to be a real integral part of the offense for Coach. And I know we'll see how they work around not having him even more. Although, to be honest, it's only been a few games, so they haven't had a chance to be totally reliant upon his transition attack yet. But it's a sad moment because he would have got to play against his old team a couple more times.
Well, there's that. There's the fact that he had made the commitment when he made the move from St. Louis to Kansas City, and he started to understand the difference in cultures, the difference in expectations. He put in the hours in the off season to get himself ready for the official preseason and to earn himself the time that he had. And that's the frustration is some players will head into other environments and they feel they're ready, they feel they're good. He recognized that he needed to do some work here, and Coach Stokich's expectations for him were that high. And we saw the talent on the field. And it's unfortunate for him, it's unfortunate for the Comets, but it's not like the Comets have never had to experience anything like this, and they'll have to adjust. And we wish Marcel only the best. I heard his procedure went well on Christmas Eve, and look forward to seeing him, obviously not on the field, not on the bench, but watching games at Cable Dawn Marina.
And I will expect to see him here at practice as soon as he's able to get here and do some things.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll often see like injured players over there just riding the bike or watching the match or watching the practice and things like that as support. I was hoping to get him on the pod here to talk to him about the transition from St. Louis to Kansas City, and I might still try to do that. It's just be a little more awkward now.
Yeah, no, and I get it. It was funny. It's not really funny, but I had thought about him as our halftime interview. So as we were mapping out the season, right, in the first part of the season, it's like that would be a pretty cool halftime interview, is to get Marcel Berry in on December 28th talking about his old team, and lo and behold, circumstances happen, and so we'll have another former Ambush player there at halftime.
I couldn't imagine who that would be.
Well, there are a few options.
But yeah, again, well wishes to Marcel.
For sure.
Fast, good, strong, healing, whatever the right terms are. Hope to see you back out there as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
All right, around the league, we've talked a little bit about it. Utica is obviously better than some people may have counted, but I don't know. I've always thought they're pretty good.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the new generative AI assistant from AWS. Many tasks can make business slow, like wading through mud. Help! Luckily, there's a faster, easier, less messy choice. Amazon Q can securely understand your business data to help you streamline tasks, like summarizing quarterly results or doing complex analyses in no time. Q got this. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
I had this exchange with at least one other pundit around the league who maybe expected more from St. Louis based on the additions that they had. That I, coming into this season, knew that Utica City was going to be just fine. It was going to be mainly just fine because of Kelvin Oliveira. And
yes,
3 games, 3 hat tricks, could have had more. The only thing that they have to watch out for is he's going to be gone for part of January because of this Kings Cup World Tournament that he got called up for Brazil, but he's done the 3 hat tricks on the road, and this is sort of jungle-esque to expect somebody to just score goals at that clip. Really impressive. It's going to be interesting this weekend. So they do their first home game this Sunday against Harrisburg, and then they have a New Year's Eve game against Baltimore. They just installed at the Adirondack Bank Center a very slick sign system on the dasher board. So it's the first in the U.S. It's basically LED lighting, which I assume is plexiglass covered, which is going to be really interesting. I mean, it's going to look pretty for the fans. It's going to look pretty on TV. You'll get to see. It's going to be how the ball bounces in Wallace Scora situation. So the only arena I can recall, in a sense, is a similar setup. And you might remember this when the Chicago Sting and some other teams played in the Rosemont Horizon. It was all glass, and including the dasher boards. And so it'd be interesting to see how teams adjust to that bounce, because it feels like every year more and more teams are going for the Wallace Scora opportunities, and it'll be interesting to see where the ball goes when you hit that. Will it be a more natural bounce? Will it be a stronger bounce and kick out further? We'll get a good taste of that on Sunday.
And will it change game to game also?
We'll see.
I know when I used to play a ton of indoor, I would, especially when I would go to a different place to play, as a defender, I did this, and I would just go kick the ball around the wall and just see how it responded through. And then at each change, I would kind of be doing that again as fast as I could to just get a judgment of how that responded. So I always think that's teams have to if I went into a foreign arena, I would go to both ends and kick the ball around a little bit and see how it did. It will be very interesting to see how it does it. Do you know if those are lit during gameplay?
Well, I would assume it would be with sponsors, just like you see at Cable Dome Arena, where they have sponsor signs on the dasher boards. I would assume you will see electronic messages like you would see at an MLS game running on the sideboard. So that's going to be interesting too, how that has an impact on action. But that's actually a really good point. Will they be static during gameplay versus will there be action and animated, and what impact might it have on players? I guess we'll see. The other thing about Utica, the complex there in Utica, and I was up there for the playoff game, Game 2 in the series against the Comets against Utica this past spring. They have their practice facility adjacent to the game arena, and so they share the facility with the American Hockey League team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do on the practice rink in terms of, for both hockey and indoor soccer, will it be the traditional dasher board or will they adjust? And then heading into game day, how much time are you going to have practicing with the game day setup? It'll just be interesting to see what adjustments they make up there. But kudos to GM Tommy Tanner, Coach Everton Morera. They're excited about their new setup, and it's a late start for them. First home game on December 29th.
Yeah. No, again, I love the idea of the dasher boards being lit, being LEDs, and all that stuff. I just overthink these things sometimes. Well, I know if I was playing, I would not want them to be animated during gameplay. I'd want them to be static, always the same thing during gameplay, because you kind of learn, like you're going to play the ball over to where the H is on this advertisement or things like that. You have these little things in your mind to cheat, and if it's moving, it now might mess you up a little bit.
Well, I mean, there's things that the casual fan might not think about. There's things that you and I might not think about, and it just reminds me of a situation in the last home game. There's a reason why red teams don't play green teams. For players, fans, whomever who are colorblind, red and green come up as the same color. And so Comets found themselves in a situation last home game where Dallas flew into town wearing their green primary uniforms, and the Comets wound up changing shirts, so that way it wasn't red versus green, it was white versus green. And so there's little things in the game that may not seem important, but really, really are important. And I think that we're waiting to see how Utica adjusts to this and what impact that might have on gameplay.
Yeah, and also because I've only seen pictures of the side. Do they come fully around to the edge of the
Guess
goal?
we'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah, and again, I would love for that to come into Cable Dahmer Arena and see how that goes, but let them get a little experiment in first.
Well, and that's the thing that for the cynical fans out there that don't think it's a big deal for Utica to have a franchise, UCFC, this is the first arena in the U.S. with this system. It's not in NHL arenas. It's not anywhere else. It's in Utica, New York, and so good for them. And this will be a great experience for players and fans alike.
And I've actually been meaning to read up on it from the hockey side of it, because I've been curious. A lot of times when you change things like that, the Premier League and the top division in your country of that won't implement it. A minor league will, just to let them work out some of the bumps,
sure,
and then they'll do it. I know, like MLS, they test things with MLS Next Pro. Some of these different rule changes on when you got to get off the field, how fast, things like that. And it's so I do think that maybe the NHL didn't want to do it first because they want to see how it implements into play. But yeah, I'm a little surprised that a NHL team didn't do it first, but that's probably why.
Well, what's also interesting about this, how many games have you gone to in your lifetime where play had to be stopped because one of the dasher board signs, the adhesive fell off, and the referees or the arena crew have to stick it back on, and so all of a sudden that problem goes away with this, and you can use that real estate differently than you would at a more traditional setup.
It might implement other problems, though. I don't, the plexiglass or whatever coverings over it.
We'll see.
Yeah. I've seen glass break at hockey games. Well, indoor also, but
I've seen that too. I've seen that too. So we'll find out. Well, San Diego found out that they didn't have a net behind their goal, and one LED sign got obliterated with shots that sailed over the goal. So I think anytime you try something new, there's a little bit of risk reward in there. And the folks at UCFC, I think they'll get their first taste of it.
Yeah, I will be watching that game, or at least portions of it. All right. Any teams in the league surprised you so far?
Surprised me. Baltimore doing a little better than I expected. They have some pieces in. I think getting Bruno Henrique, he's good. He's good. He played M2 last year. He was a former Florida Tropic. I think he's definitely helped. They have a goalkeeper controversy perhaps brewing there too. San Diego's still trying to figure out. They have so much talent, trying to figure out who gets the ball, who passes the ball to whom, but I think they'll be okay. Empire is a team that has a lot of change. A late coaching change, new players in, and I want to see them a few more games before I have an opinion on them, but I think that this season will be, from a results perspective, markedly better than what they experienced last year.
How about San Diego? You expect them to be where they're at now with their new stadium?
With San Diego, this is not a new problem for them where they get a bunch of free agents or players in and everybody's trying to figure out how much of the ball do they get. But I think what they're going to find pretty quickly is there may be this mindset that San Diego has the best players in indoor soccer, but what they found out already is Luis Morales, whom they brought in from the Texas Outlaws, is going to be their guy, for sure. And so how players like Craig Childs have to adjust with Luis Morales not only wanting the ball but deserving the ball, and he's been scoring in clips.
So just looking at the standings right at the moment, most teams have played 3 to 4 games. There's Chihuahua's only played 2, Outlaws have only played 1, but everybody else has played 3 or 4, I think.
Well, and they play each other twice in Chihuahua, and I think it's pretty safe to say that it's going to be a painful weekend for the Outlaws, decimated from a roster perspective in the toughest environment in MASL. But other than that, you're right. Everybody else has played games.
It might be a good game to watch if you like a massacre.
You might see a lot of goals scored for the home team both times.
Speaking of goals, though, Comets have the most goals scored so far. They've played 4. Again, not everybody else has played that many. But the goal differential is plus 15. The next closest is plus 8. And that's Chihuahua, who's only played 2 games.
Yeah, I think with Utica City, they're going to score a lot of goals, but they don't, historically, and this goes back before Everton, they don't seem to mind giving up a lot of goals either, and so that's a team that's going to win 8-7, 7-6 games. That's not the Comets' mindset. The Comets may win some games like that, but that's ultimately not the goal.
Yeah, Utica's scored 21 and given up 18 in 3 games.
Yeah, that's 7 to 6 games on average, right? That's where they normally are. It's exciting to watch, but from a predictability and coaching perspective, you would rather be giving up 3 or 4 than 6 or 7.
Definitely. I mean, that was part of the Comets when they were not good last year. They were giving up a few too many goals.
But keep in mind, to be fair to UCFC, all those games have been on the road, right. So now they'll have an opportunity. I would anticipate they're going to be so amped up for Harrisburg. I would expect them to try to not only run up the score, but run up that goal differential this Sunday.
Yeah, and it being at home, being Harrisburg, I fully expect that. All right, any other thoughts? What did we need to cover here?
No, I mean, I think that this is a relatively short turnaround, but good opportunity for Kansas City to hold their position at or near the top of the league. I think what we'll start seeing in January is jockeying for All-Star game selections, and we'll see which Comets. There are a lot of Comets who could make a case for themselves to be called up. It's going to be interesting to see who continues to shine out there.
As of right now, who would be the first 3 Comets you would see going to the All-Star game? I don't. How many players are going to? Do you know if they're like calling a certain number from each team, or like every team going to be represented?
I haven't seen. I would assume that every team's going to be represented, but if you figure 16 on each team, that 12 teams, 32 spots, you're going to see some teams with 4 or 5 players for sure, maybe even more than that, but. I think you look at.
I kind of put you on the spot here.
No,
so
I mean, if it were today, now keep in mind not every team has every. But if you look purely at stats, Rion Marquez is tied for the league in points scored. Zach Reggett, perennial thought of as one of the best targets in the league. And then you start looking at other positions in terms of who's been out there. We've talked a ton about Leo Acosta already this season. You have Philip Ejimadu, who's leading all goalkeepers in wins right now. So there are definite options there, but keep in mind, season's early, and for me, the season really, really starts. You got to get past these 2 games, and then you have some payback for Milwaukee on January 5th, and that's when things start getting – it's not that they aren't serious now, but more routine, that every week is going to be a battle.
You fairly often will point out that every game is a must-win game, essentially, but you're not wrong, because, I mean, I often think this in other sports, like, it's must-win game in your last 5 of the season or something like this. You know what? Every one of those games counted. Every one of those points mattered. It's unusual to hear people saying that as much. But yes, each one of them just ramps up to be a little more important as you go on.
Well, particularly if your expectations increase. If you're just happy making the playoffs as a 7th or 8th seed, then no. Every game doesn't matter, right? When you want to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, then you have to win every game, because it's not like UCFC is going to be the underdog these 2 games at home.
No.
It's not like Chihuahua is going to be the underdog against Texas these 2 games at home. And then you start looking at San Diego getting on a run, and then you're trying to figure out what's the difference between a 2 seed and a 3 seed. And as a reminder to our listeners who might not have caught this before, with the playoff format announced for 25 Ron Newman Cup series, San Diego is going to host the quarterfinals and the semifinals series at Front Wave Arena. 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7 on Friday. 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5 on Saturday, and then whoever's left will play on Sunday. Here's the thing: you would prefer to have that 1 day rest as theoretically a 1 or 2 seed winning your first game, rather than having to play Saturday and then turn around and playing for a final spot on Sunday. And so it's not life or death if you're a 3 seed versus a 2 seed, but it definitely makes the recovery that much easier if you get to play that first game on Friday rather than Saturday. And that's what all these teams are playing for, is we want to be 1 or 2.
Absolutely. Which defender would be your all-star vote right now from the Comets? It's the only position you left out.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could go in a lot of different directions. I think Lacia Tetsane as a two-way defender, you can make a case for him. Chad Vandegrift, Chad was Defender of the Week, not this week, the week before, 6 blocks against Dallas. You can and a goal. Could have had 2, and he knows it, right?
Yep.
You could make a case for him. I think Pino's still finding his place in Kansas City, so ask me about Pino in a couple weeks. And then, Nacho's been kind of moving around a little bit, and so he's sort of a tweener there. And so, I mean, we'll see what the league decides to do on players, but they're definitely at every line. Comets would have consideration for the All-Star game.
How's that going to be selected,
Oh, you had to put me on the spot, and I hadn't researched it. I have seen it before. It's a combination of voting and commissioner picks, kind of like it's similar but different than Major League Soccer. Yeah. So, but in terms of players who have impressed me, I saw him on MASL Monday this week as their guest. Joey Tavernisi is scoring goals for Harrisburg, so would not be surprised to see him. And there are players that have stepped up this season, and then there's the tried and true. So should be a mix.
All right. Well, that game is over, and I don't think we have much else to talk about.
That was actually perfect timing. It's like, hey, somebody hit the horn. We must be done.
All right. Any last words?
No, other than what we seem to say every week, must-win situation here for Kansas City.
I hope everybody had happy holidays. Hope you continue to have those. Health, wealth, happiness, all of that I wish to anybody who's listening, and not to anybody who's not. I'm kidding. But we are out. Back with another segment on the pod, and with me I have Coach Dokic. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you have good holidays?
Yes. Our Christmas is January 7th, but we celebrate with our kids as well this Christmas. Yeah. But I just enjoyed time with the family and try to relax as much as I could.
As a professional soccer coach, do you wish for soccer type gifts, or you just try to stay away from it?
I do. I do wish for those kind of gifts, but if you don't work hard for it, those wishes probably won't come true either way. So it's kind of both.
What would be the best soccer gift somebody could give you? And I don't mean winning the cup. I mean just like a gift.
I would say right now, if you're not going to talk about winning the cup, I just say a healthy team.
Well, I still think it's something more like somebody could buy you, a hat from a team or a jersey.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to my squad, I would say, healthy team. Outside of that, I would want to go watch a Premier League game.
Do you have a certain team?
I'm a Man U fan. We've been struggling for a while, but I would definitely want to watch one of those games.
That was the first team I kind of followed mostly in Premier League myself because my roommate was a big Man U fan.
Okay.
And I mean, even before they were good, so they were not so they were good, but not the great. And then they were great under Sir Alex. So all that, but so he followed them before that. So that was
that's when I started watching them, and as a young kid growing up and wanting to be a soccer player, they were my team. So.
Yeah. One of my claims to fame is I met Sir Alex Ferguson. So.
Oh, nice.
Want to know a bigger claim to fame? I stole a French fry off Sir Alex's plate.
Oh wow. Okay. That's awesome.
I know. It's past the statute of limitations. All right. It's a long story. But anyway, how's everybody doing? You've had a little time off.
Yep. I think it's great. I think it was good time off, not just for the physical side of it, but the mental side of it. I've been tough on them the last 2 months. So kind of just a reset button, and, everybody's feeling great.
Obviously, we got the bad news that Marcel will be out for the season. I guess how is he doing?
He's good. I talked to him last night. He's recovering from the surgery. He says he's still in pain. It should be better in the next couple of days. Just sucks that we're losing him for the season. None of those things are easy as a player, or even from a team aspect as well. But those things happen, and so we're here for him on the recovery side of it, and I know that he'll come back even stronger next season.
I know he was a big part of your plans this year with the transition and stuff. How do you adapt to that now that you don't have him available for the rest of the season? Is it just a
next player up? I mean, it's we can't control that, right? That's something that we can't control. So we can only control what we can control. So right now it's the next man up, and who can fill in his shoes.
Who's the next fastest guy that can go in there?
You'll see on Saturday.
Cool. How's everybody else's health? I mean, I've seen there were some guys who were out before the last game who've had some more time. Saw Linus out there, I think Lucas. I mean, how's everybody in general?
Everybody's good. We're getting back into it. The only one player that we had out today was Henry, and I think he's still probable in my opinion. But we're taking a little bit easy with him. But everybody's healthy and ready to go.
At least the benefit you have is you have a deep roster, so right now you don't have to rush guys back, hoping that they could give you a couple minutes.
Correct.
You can wait a game or two.
Correct. That's something that we fixed from last year. Yes.
It was well done.
Thank you.
With 2 games coming up, again, it's an opponent you've already played twice, and we've talked about how it's a little bit weird how this scheduling is. But with playing the same team again, not directly back-to-back in the next day, but just 4 days apart, 3 days apart, whatever it is. And how do you approach those?
We approach it like every other game, in my opinion. It just, for me, it becomes a little bit harder, right? If you play a team back-to-back, beating them the first day, beating them the second time is very hard. In soccer, there's kind of not a rule, but something we thought it's very hard to beat a team back-to-back. That's
right.
one of the toughest things. So, we're going to play, we already beat them twice, so they're going to come out. It's going to be even tougher. They're going to come out wanting to beat us. Especially, I guess, the Cup's on the line as well, too, the I-70 Cup.
Right.
So I think this game will be a totally different game compared to the first 2 games. And then we can talk about the 4th game after that, but it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, they didn't do you any favors, too, because that second game of this pair is on the road, you got to leave early to get there. It's a special day for them. They always have that New Year's Eve day game, stuff like that. So it just makes it a little even harder for them. The schedules didn't do you any favor, did they?
It does, but it's something that we have to, we can always make, excuses, but I'm against that. So we just have to, whatever hand is dealt to us, we have to make the best out of it and play our best soccer.
When I know I hate this term keeper controversy, because I don't think it's a controversy. It's a competition of which ones are played at what point, and they're both doing really well. How do you keep to balance that? I mean, it's got. I feel like it might be tough as a coach to keep that balance where both guys are hungry and but not mad. I don't know. How does that work?
It's challenging. It's a good problem to have, and we just have to be able to manage it. And Neto and Phil are competing healthy. It's not a negative, competitiveness. So that's the positive side of it. And then with communication with them, I think all of us just being on the same page, from the players to the coaching staff, and making what the best decision is to make for that game, for us to win it.
For when you have games like this weekend and these next 2 games, you go in with the intent of maybe one guy plays one and the other, or you just go, okay, this is hot hand for maybe both of them?
I mean, we have a plan, but I think objectively that can change very quickly as well too. So do we have an idea that we might play one and the other one in the next game? Yes, but again, those decisions are made during practice this week, and it's made after the game itself as well.
One of the things Eric and I talked about was a lot of the teams around the league now are catching up in the amount of games played. Most of the teams have 3 or 4 games played. A couple don't. But how do you look at those teams around the league? Is there any surprises you've seen around the league, like teams that you thought are doing better or maybe a little worse?
Yeah, I don't know if there's surprises. I'm always objective that every team is going to be their best. So, we can go down and say who we think is the weaker teams, but I don't believe in that. I feel every team has to win a game any day. Like, we can get beat by, let's just say the Dallas beat Milwaukee. We can say that Milwaukee didn't come with their A team, but we haven't played with our A team. I mean, I actually talked to my wife yesterday. We're only going to be playing 10 minutes of our full squad that we wanted. So the first game, Lucas got injured 10 minutes after, and since then we haven't played with our starting 16. So, we all make plans, but that it changes itself. So my point is, every team I feel like this year is stronger. Every team has the ability to win a game, regardless if you're I guess like what I'm saying is any team can win in any day. So.
But I just was kind of curious, has like any team been better maybe than you originally anticipated? I know every team has a chance to win, because again, even a bad team's going to score a couple goals. I mean, it's rare to get a shutout or something like that. So even a team that's on their worst moment usually will score at least a couple goals, and with that, you have a chance.
Yeah. So I would say the ones that kind of stand out to me that I've been watching, Tacoma. I felt like Tacoma had a really good start. Yes, they had that one loss, but for me, I feel like they're a little bit more consistent in what they're doing, and I think they've upgraded from last year, in my opinion. So I think they're doing really good. Utica, I think with Calvin, and I feel like Calvin won them those games that needed to be won, even though they didn't play their best. But that squad is it's all attacking force, and I think they're doing really, really good. So I would say Tacoma, Utica. Chihuahua was expected, so there's no surprises there. They're the two-time reigning champs. I think St. Louis. I think San Diego will get there. I think they're still trying to figure out the new players that they brought in, and they haven't been having a lot of injuries, so they haven't been playing with their full squad. So I think they're going to be a top team as well. I mean, they already are, but I think they're going to be up there for sure. Those would be my teams right now that I've watched that kind of left a mark to me. So.
Yeah, Utica's played all 3 games on the road, but having a guy that scores a hat trick every game is a bit of a help, isn't it?
Well, listen, if you have to have a game changer to win championships, and I think Calvin is that. I mean, even though they didn't have their best games, you have to have a guy that can win you games, and that's what he does.
Cool. All right, I appreciate the time, Coach. Anything I should ask you today?
No, we're good.
All right, thank you. We are out.
Thank you.